Hello, and welcome to the Berkshire Football Stories chat podcast with me, your host, Rob Davies, Tom Canning,
Hello.
and Mr. Bob Bacon. Bob, how you doing? How you doing,
Oh,
Bob?
it sounded like it was underwater then.
Yes, I'm not underwater, and I'm very well, thank you very much.
Very good, very good. We'll be discussing all the upcoming FA Cup fixtures and the Women's FA Cup fixtures this gone, and even touching on the FA Trophy fixtures. But we're actually going to start with some Step 5 football, because, Tom, you went to a game last night. You were at
I
Holyport
did.
versus Virginia Water at Summerlees, weren't you?
I did. It's a massive shame I hadn't clocked that it was a 7:30 kickoff, but it did mean that I was home well before time. So there, swings and roundabouts really. But it was really great to be at a game. I always enjoy going to Summerlees. I think it's one of my it's one of the good sort of Step 5 grounds. And yeah, just thoroughly enjoyed the evening.
Mm-hmm. So Holyport 2, Virginia Water 3 with the final score there. How how did the game go?
Virginia, I went partly to sort of because as I say, I like going to Summerlees. Holyport are always a good side, but I went as well because Virginia Water started the season really well, and I wanted to see what the fuss was all about. And they went 2-0 down, so I was like, oh, okay, they've just played some not great sides, but to be honest, they were 2-0 down, and I don't think it's unfair to say it was against the run of play a little bit. Holyport had two good chances and scored two good goals, but it was Matteo Giacob in goal who kind of kept it in. He was, rather than the goals, he was kind of the star of the show, especially in the first half. He pulled off 2 or 3 really excellent saves from Virginia Water and kept that scoreline at 0. So as far as first halves go, it was it was Holyport were ahead, but you could see that Virginia Water had the ability to get back into it, and they duly did just before half time. That was a header from a corner. I think I think it was Casey Baccaro who got the header, but their Twitter would suggest it was someone else. So we'll just leave that up to the world to come to the final conclusion there. But I looked at it was a number 7, and I looked at the team sheet and. The Twitter team sheet, and it said he was number 7. So that's my final say on it, really.
Very good indeed. That win actually takes Virginia Water up to 3rd in the table. They're only 3 points behind Rayners Lane, who are top with a game in hand, and Virginia Water have actually already beaten Rayners Lane this season, giving the leaders one of their 2 defeats so far. We have a couple of other teams in that promotion race as well.
Sorry, Rob. I should just say, the one of the finest. It's one of those things that you probably couldn't script, or you might script. I don't know which way around that would go. But the Matt Jones, the Virginia Water goalkeeper, was sin-binned in the second half, and I'm not sure I've ever seen that happen. I was stood with Richard Tyrrell, and he said, "I didn't think a referee would ever have the guts to sin-bin the goalkeeper." He did. You had the defender changing shirts with the goalkeeper, and then this was about 50 minutes into the second half. 50 minutes of the second half, and it was just quite the sight as he sort of trudged off. And you would think that Holyport would have then absolutely gone for it. They had a corner almost immediately, and they did a short corner, and the crowd predictably going, "Oh, get it in the box." They didn't get it in the box, and unfortunately for Holyport, they didn't manage to trouble the goalkeeper even once in the 10 minutes, and Virginia Water actually went up the other end and equalised during the period that their goalkeeper was off the pitch, and they were down to 10 men. It kind of just rallied them. I think he came back on, and they got the winner. So there we are.
Yeah, well, Holyport remains 17th, 2 places above the relegation zone. I think they were hoping for perhaps maybe more of a mid-table kind of finish this season, rather than sort of the battling relegation they perhaps had over the past couple of years, being maybe a bit more comfortable. From the evidence you've seen, would you suggest they're on for that, or would you suggest that maybe they're going to be towards the bottom end again this season?
Defensively, they look solid. They've got Luke Appleton from Windsor, who's a cool customer. I think they had a couple of players out last night, but defensively they look very, very solid. Where they look a little short is perhaps going forward. They've got some good players going forward. I think it's probably just going to take a little bit of time for them to come together. There was a suggestion that Alfie Pendlebury, who they had up front last night, was carrying an injury. He didn't quite look. I've not seen him play before, so I can't really comment. But if he looked like a player who was perhaps struggling with an injury, that would because there were a couple of opportunities where he had chances and sort of chose not to shoot. I think it's probably going forward where their problems lie, and that's something for Sam Locke to work on.
Very good. Very interesting. As I was mentioning, Virginia Water up to third now. We also have other teams that are involved in that promotion shake-up. Burnham are currently in sixth. They've only played 6 games, and I'd imagine Reading City, despite being all the way down in 13th at the moment, would be looking further up the table because they've only played 4 games so far this season, so plenty of games in hand for them. Bob, I want to bring you in here because you're an ideal person to talk to when we talk about getting out of Step 5, thanks to your experience with Binfield. What do you think it takes to get out of the Combined Counties Premier Division North, or Step 5 in general? And have you seen, from the limited number of games we've seen so far this season, and perhaps looking back into last season, do you think any of these our local sides have the potential to be getting out of this division?
I think once you get to the end of October, you start to get a pattern for how the season is going to pan out. And I'm afraid of this part of the season, it's literally you've got to win your next game. I think the games have got to be taken, and I think that's the pressure on the managers, that's the pressure on the players. The next game has to be a win, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Virginia Water have already played some. You mentioned about you weren't sure who they played, so they've already played some of the other teams in that division that are around the top end. Rayners Lane, they've actually beaten Rayners Lane. They've beaten Reading City. One of their defeats coming to Broadfield United, who are currently in second. So, I mean, I think they're going along quite nicely at the moment, and we sort of were mentioning them as perhaps a dark horse last season, or someone we didn't know too much about, and who finished fairly well. And now with the playoffs at Step 5, as opposed to sort of the interstep playoffs, there's perhaps more positions to aim for, which maybe gives some more impetus to teams. Bob, what do you think of that? What do you think the difference between the interstep playoff and the standard 14 playoff will do for teams this season?
Well, hopefully this revised edition of the playoff will make it highly competitive all the way through to the end of the season, which I think is very important. I know from our experience at Binfield, if you looked at the league table end of October, beginning of November, there wasn't a great deal of change unless somebody goes on a massive run or somebody loses a lot of players in Christmas as the mythical budgets are removed because they're not making promotion. And I think competition is vital at Step 5, and every game, I think from January, when the rains have come and we've had all the postponements, that's when it becomes really important. You have to win that next game, and you have to put runs together and just drive forward.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of these teams still are involved in FA Cup and FA Vars competitions, making postponements likely. But just another mention, actually, I should say, we mentioned a few Berkshire sides there, but Woking and Embrook currently only 2 points off the playoffs. So, a good start to the season for them as well. Good stuff there. All right, we'll leave the sort of Step 5 or Combined Counties Premier Division North chat there. It's certainly a promotion race to be keeping an eye on as the season goes on, as we seem to have a lot of Berkshire or Berkshire adjacent interest in that one. But we'll round up the Women's FA Cup games from the weekend, because it was the first qualifying round in the Women's FA Cup. We had a couple of sides in action. Caversham United at home to Camden and Islington. Unfortunately, Caversham going out 3-1. But Slough Town Ladies travelled to Haddenham Youth Ladies and came out victorious 5-0 2, and that puts them in line for a home draw against Oxford City in the next round. Tom, why don't you tell us about Slough Town ladies, and what a cup run like this will mean.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. I think the best example we have is when Caversham United got through a couple of rounds and they played QPR a couple of seasons ago, and I think that's what every team that takes part in those early rounds at the moment is kind of looking for. I don't think it's I don't know how seriously anybody. I never when I was running a women's team, we never competed in the FA Cup, unfortunately. But I do know it's still the FA Cup, and that does mean something to those players. And I know when Abby spoke to the Caversham United managers, they were keen to kick on, and obviously they haven't. Slough Town have, and that's a club with some serious FA Cup history on their men's side of things. So I think if they can do anything to kind of emulate what they saw, what they've seen their men's team do down the years, then they'll be very, very happy. I think it was just reading Abby's report, and it was Alice Heady, hat-trick, Natalie Richardson, and Hannah Summers who got the goals for them in that 5-2 win. That's they'll relish that. It is still the FA Cup. I remember, sorry, this is going back a few years. I remember an FA Cup game at Larges Lane, a women's FA Cup game, and there was a weird moment where a Bracknell Town player got sent off in an FA Cup match, wrongly sent off, and she was absolutely furious about it. That she everybody knew she'd been wrongly sent off, and actually. And she said, "I can't believe I've just been sent off in the FA Cup," and I think that moment always sticks in my mind because it would be quite easy, I think, at times to maybe dismiss. It's not the FA Cup, but it does mean something to those players. And amusingly, and I'll always remember this, the referee actually realised he'd got it wrong and called her back. So she was unred carded, and again, and in terms of things I've never seen before, I've also never seen that before. So I can't quite remember if the correct person did eventually get sent off, or if nobody got sent off. But anyway, it was a situation that greatly amused me.
Very good. Yeah, so national competition, obviously, and like you say, you go through the rounds, and you could end up facing some of the big teams. Of course, it's an absolutely massive deal. So. Yeah, so like we say, Slough Town rewarded for their efforts with a home tie against Oxford City, aside from 2 steps above them in the league. So a pretty tricky assignment there. And they'll be joined in the second qualifying round by Ascot United, who will be at home to Wycombe Wanderers, and Woodley United, who are away at Buckingham United. Those ties will be played on the weekend of the September the 30th and October the 1st. So over that weekend, probably on Sunday, October the 1st. So keep an eye on our website for all details on that. And just to sort of round up the FA competition chat for this weekend, we also had FA Trophy fixtures. And 3 Berkshire sides entered, but unfortunately only 1 went through. But let's start with the positive. Ascot winning their first ever game in the competition, a 3-2 away victory at Horndean. Bob, why don't you talk us through that and what an achievement that is for Ascot, the first time in the competition winning 3-2 away at Horndean.
Yeah, they can't seem to stop winning in FA competition, can they? It's
That's right.
An impressive run that they've got. I mean, go away from home and win is great, but I also think winning 3-2 away from home is rubbing it in the nose a little bit of Horndean. But who cares? I mean, they're through, and that's the most important thing. And if you can win these games, and as Tom says, it is an FA competition, and I think that holds a lot of sway with players at this level. I think it's really important. It gives them some credibility. They can boast about it when they have a night out or when they're with the mates. I think it's great, but it's a good win. That's a very good win.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say, first ever game of the competition. As you mentioned, their run, they've actually, I think it's 14 FA Cup, FA Vars or FA Trophy games now without defeat. So spanning back all the way to the beginning of last season when they were knocked out of the FA Cup. So thank you for, I think it was Phil Arnett's that one, wasn't it, Tom?
Yes.
FA Cup fact file, bringing that one out. So yeah,
I was at Holyport last night, and Richard did say it was us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was them that knocked the last team to beat Ascot in an FA competition. So pretty impressive record from them.
Yes.
Yes. But unfortunately, Bob, your pick not quite do the business. They went 2-0 up. Thatcham Town, this is. I should put the context in. Yeah, Thatcham Town went 2-0 up against Bristol Manor Farm. But unfortunately, were pegged back to 2-2 and went out 3-1 on penalties. Disappointing for them.
Yeah, I mean, continuing with the football in Berkshire kiss of death in to win a game. I really fancied Thatcham would do something in that, and they'll be absolutely gutted to lose on penalties like that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a real shame for them. But yeah, Ascot through, and unfortunately, Binfield losing quite heavily on the Sunday as well. So they're out of the competition as well. Ascot through and face a home tie against Lancing on Saturday, the 23rd of September, or that weekend anyway. So one to look forward to there. Right,
we're not dwelling on Binfield's defeat then.
Well, you can dwell on it if you want, Tom. Do you want to dwell on it a little bit?
I don't know. We've had one question into our podcast this week, and it unfortunately was about Binfield and what's going on. And I probably have to defer to Bob as he's seen them a bit more. But just the as someone who grew up supporting Bracknell Town and being incredibly envious of the way that Binfield dispatched teams and dispatched us on a regular basis when we met. That's not a good position for them to be in. No.
I guess it's at 20 past 11 of a Wednesday morning. It's too early to drink hard liquor, but that's that's a pretty shambolic result, shambolic performance, and just not good enough. Just not good enough.
Yeah, a real shame for Binfield there, out of the competition. So. Yeah, losing 7-1 away at Ashford United. Yeah, long journey there, and probably a pretty solemn journey on the bus on the way back, I'd say.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we don't have anyone in the waiting room, do we, Tom?
Not yet. Shortly.
Okay, shortly. All right. Well, in that case, we'll move on to the to a preview of another. We were talking about FA competitions. Well, we mentioned the Women's FA Cup. We're on to the Men's FA Cup, which with second round qualifying round fixtures taking place this weekend. But we actually have one first qualifying round fixture taking place tonight due to AFC Portchester fielding an ineligible player in the previous round. Tadley have been put through to the first qualifying round of the FA Cup. They face Didcot Town away tonight, a team from 2 steps above them. They're a Step 3 side. Tadley, of course, playing their football in the Combined Counties Premier Division South, are going quite well in that division at the moment. But yeah, a big chance for them to get through this evening, and a bit of a reprieve considering the defeat they had in the previous round to AFC Portchester. Yeah. Big opportunity for them tonight, Bob.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's always great to play a team or a club 2 levels above you. I mean, that should generate a lot of excitement and a lot of nervousness within the Tadley players. But certainly wish them all the best, because it's a great opportunity for them to shock a few people, and that's what the FA Cup's all about, isn't it? You know, surprises, shocks, disappointments, and I just hope that they give a good account of themselves tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tadley going along very well at the moment in the Premier Division South of the Combined Counties League. They actually had a very impressive away win at Redhill, who are a side that were very highly fancied at the weekend, 2-0 there. I think they lost their opening game of the season, but since then have won their other 3. So they're another side with lots of games in hand. They currently sit 8th in the division on 9 points from 4 games. But most of the teams above them have played more games. So, going along pretty well. So they despite the result in the previous round that has since been reversed, maybe a little bit of an opportunity there, especially considering Didcot are in the relegation zone in their division at step 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the FA Cup. Anything can and you hope will happen.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay. Well, we'll park our preview. We'll look ahead to the weekend's FA games in a moment, but because we have been joined by Damian Scurr from Serious Sports. Damian, thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
Good morning. So, Serious Sports.
You hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you very loud and clear, Davies. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Serious Sports kit producer. You're producing our a lot of stash for us here at Football in Berkshire, and you're also producing the kit for one of the local sides in the North Berkshire League Division 2. In fact, a side that I believe you have a link to. Do you want to talk us through that?
I can, yeah. You're breaking up. I don't know. Hopefully you can hear me all right. You're breaking up my end. It might be my internet connection, but can you hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
You can hear me all good. Okay, I'll crack on. Yeah, I have got a previous conversation with Tom. Yeah, we've my link with Frilsham and Yattendon goes back a fair way, and certainly in local football in West Berkshire as well, and been involved with Frilsham and Yattendon over the years in all capacities really. That person that is the secretary and does the ground and arranges the kit and all of those jobs really. So yeah, I'm the person that's certainly involved with Frilsham and Yattendon, and we've just started the season in as you said, the North Berks Division 2. So after relegation, a tough year in North Berks Division 1, we've basically got a house in order. And we're going from strength to strength really the start of this season in probably a more suitable league for where we're at the moment.
Yeah, well, you certainly started very strongly in the division. You're 2 wins from 2, currently sitting on top of the table. Yeah, very positive start. And the North Berkshire League, perhaps not one we've covered particularly on the pod. Give the listeners an overview of sort of where it covers and where it sits in the football pyramid.
So it's in terms of geographically, it's I think it goes back to probably the old Berkshire boundaries. That's why it's called the North Berks League. As you know, over the years, boundaries move all over the place. Previously, it's more. I would say now it's more of an Oxfordshire area that it covers, and it's all sort of A34 corridor. I would probably explain it as. So if you're sort of coming down the A34 from Cheveley, which is obviously not a million miles away from us, so it's only up the road from us. So it's literally jump on the A34, and you've got all these these Oxfordshire villages. You come across Milton and Steventon and Abingdon, and so if a picture in your head is that's the area you're talking about Drayton and those sort of areas. So. Again, probably the boundaries, and weirdly, over the years, when you get drawn in the Berks and Bucks, we seem to always play a team from there, which are all predominantly teams which you would think are more Oxfordshire based. Which actually, on that point, we've got a Berks and Bucks game on Saturday against Sutton Courtenay, which is pretty much in Didcot, which I would say is Oxfordshire. So I think it's based on old boundaries, but it's a lovely league, to be fair, and it's all full of lots of clubs with their own little grounds, their own little clubhouses, their own little bars, and they've all got you're not playing on council pitches, you're just playing in nice little villages with these clubhouses and a decent team spirits. I think so. I think it's a nice place to be. The top league, Division 1, is although I don't think it's formally a step 7 level, but that's the level it is, and it's certainly a strong league. But I don't think it's a feeder league for step 7 at the moment. I may be corrected, but it's basically it's step 7. So that's the sort of standard you're talking about.
Very good. Yeah, I think you're right in saying that it doesn't quite feed into the National League system at the moment. But yeah, we've seen some teams from those divisions come across to other divisions and sort of, start their journey, be quite successful getting up through the divisions. I believe Newbury came from that division at some point fairly recently. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Newbury have done that in the North Berks. The teams like Kintbury and Lambourne, they've certainly all gone from North Berks, and then they move across into the Hellenic League, for example, and then you're into the system. But it's a very strong league, and for all intents and purposes, it's a well-run league, and it's providing a good standard of football, really, in certainly in that area. And pre-season's been good. Lots of unbeaten in pre-season, and then come into a good start for the league season. So it's positive at the moment.
Very good. And you have your Frilsham and Yattendon hat, but you also have another hat that you wear. I guess you're sports designer for Serious Sports, and you are the kit designer for Frilsham and Yattendon, or I'm not sure about designer, actually, kit producer, I should say. I don't know what sort of input you have into the design, but we've teamed up with you this season, and you have the Football in Berkshire logo on the front of your shirts.
Yeah. So a good partnership with you guys in promoting. Yeah. So with two hats, really. So with my so I'm the account manager. So I'm the account manager for Serious Sports. So working with some of the football clubs, and as you say, we've got this great sublimation process, design and sublimation team here at Serious Sport, and we're able to produce all these amazing looking kits. So people can come to us for design, and we can make the design however people want it to be made, and make a complete bespoke kit. And that's what we've done for Frilsham, this year, and with you guys. So, really thanks for you guys with the ongoing support that you're giving Serious Sport. And obviously, we're picking up momentum on the back of my conversation before with Tom, with the Ascot, with their successes at the moment, and their progress again this year in the FA Trophy and the FA Cup at the moment. So it's all good stuff for us. But as I said, with the other hat on with Frilsham, if you guys can cover that and bring some coverage to that, and then we can get some promotion of your logo on the front of that shirt, and obviously Serious Sport as well have supported that process as well. So it's all good stuff, and I'm sure it's all helping and being good for local football.
Well, you've certainly painted a nice picture of Frilsham and Yattendon and the sort of grounds you play at. So I think maybe a Football in Berkshire away day to support the side that with our logo on the front of the shirt should be on the agenda at some point this season. What do you think, Tom?
Absolutely, I think... An away day will be good, and also our ground is literally in the middle of the trees, and at the end of it is a deer park. So you're not going to get much better than that. And then we can you convince everyone to go back for a beer afterwards, because that's really that's one of the things that makes it all worthwhile.
I don't think it'll take much convincing. I think it sounds pretty good. So
yes.
Anything to add, Tom, before we let Damian get on his way?
No, just thanks to Damian for coming on. We'll be bringing Damian back every so often. I think we're also looking at getting your manager on for a little 5-minute slot here and there. I think the part of the deal of having our logo on was getting you guys on our podcast just to chat through everything North Berks for a bit. So just spot you've got a Wokingham and Embrooks shirt up behind you as well. That wasn't there last time. The orange one, yes. There he is.
It wasn't. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm not sure where that's come from actually. But
are they missing a shirt?
No, they may have moved on. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay.
That's an old one, I think. But all good.
Brilliant. Well, Davies, is that
a Wokingham shirt you've got on, Tom?
No, this is my all-you-can-eat T-shirt. So.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much, Damian. Thank you, Frilsham and Yattendon. Very nice to speak to you, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again at some point in the near future.
Speak to you soon. Thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Bye.
Well, that was Damian Scurr from Frilsham and Yattendon, and also Serious Sport. 2 hats he's wearing there. So expect to hear more about the North Berkshire League this season. And sounds like a pretty nice place to go watch a game. So, like I say, maybe a Football in Berkshire trip to one of the games this season should be on order. Okay, well, let's get back to our FA Cup preview, because we've spoken about Tadley and their first qualifying round fixture tonight. But should they get through, the second qualifying round fixtures are taking place this weekend. And we're kicking off on Friday night with Ascot playing their first ever game in the second qualifying round. They're home to Lewis. We'll talk about them first. I mean, you've already mentioned, Bob, what a fantastic run they're on in FA Cup competitions. Do you see this being another one tonight where they could get through?
Well, I certainly hope so. Yeah, I mean, they're at home.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Lewis, but I think Ascot do have a resilience when it comes to FA competitions, and you can bet the management will be really reminding them of how successful they have been. And I hope this is football in Berkshire kiss to death. I do expect them to win this.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're really going well at the competition. They're doing pretty well. Unfortunately, a defeat last night, Tuesday night in the league, but they've taken to step 4 reasonably well. They haven't. I mean, the defeat last night was a 1-0 reverse against Leatherhead, who are a decent side. So they haven't. The league hasn't held any sort of. They haven't been outclassed at all. Far from it. They're doing. They've taken to the level really well. So Lewis, maybe a tough assignment, but I think perhaps they could. They should be able to show their quality in that game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what are Ascot about 7th or 8th in the league?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good position to be in. And last night's game, Leatherhead are top of the league, so I sort of expected that to be a bit of a tight game. But I think when I've seen Ascot this year, I thought they defended very well. They got forward, probably could have got forward a little bit quicker, I thought, in some times. But they got some players. I think they've got some players coming back from injury soon as well. And I would expect a win for them at home.
Very good, yeah. Lewis, of course, are a step 3 side, so the division above, mid-table in the Isthmian Premier Division. So, yeah, like you say, an opportunity there for sure. And, and Tom, we're following that up on Saturday with 4, possibly 5, depending on how Tadley get on, fixtures on Saturday afternoon. I'll run through them quickly, and then you can choose the side that you want to talk about or you think has the best opportunity. So Bracknell Town are at home to Havant Waterlooville. Hungerford Town are away at Chippenham Town in a local derby there. Slough Town away at Hayes and Yedding United, another fairly local fixture in that one. And Reading City at home to Winchester City. And should Tadley come through tonight's fixture, then they will be at home to Bristol Manor Farm. So out of those fixtures, Tom, who do you fancy? Who do you want to talk about?
Can I pick 2?
Go on then.
I think Bracknell Town at home to Havant and Waterlooville is Bracknell Town are at home, so I would expect no away form issues there. I would expect that one to get through that one quite comfortably. I saw Havant and Waterlooville are bottom of their division.
Mm-hmm.
Can't quite remember which division it is.
Step 2.
Step 2, right. National League South. That's where I saw them. I was scouting for them the other day. So bottom of their division. I would expect Bracknell to come through that. Carl and Jamie have experience beating sides in the National League South. I expect them to come through that. And I think the other one is Reading City, who are also historically in the second qualifying round for the first time. They're also in the first qualifying round for the first time.
Exactly.
They have Reading City have made a claim that they're the first Reading-based non-league club to reach the second qualifying round. I feel like that's not right, but I think it is because I've checked FCHD. All the teams called Reading. It can't. In my mind, it can't be a place as big as Reading. It can't be, but.
Well,
it is.
They've got the main team, haven't they? Obviously, the professional side.
Yes.
But yeah, it's that one.
Yes,
But
obviously,
non-league.
In terms of non-league, I'd have thought there would have been a historically strong Reading team down the years that made. I know Reading Town made it to the first qualifying round once, but I just the breadth of talent across Reading. The amount of Reading-based players you see playing for some of the stronger non-league sides around. I just thought that there would have been another Reading-based side, but I can't find one. So and I don't mean to disparage what they've said. I just when I looked at it, I was like, that can't be right. but it is. So there we go.
Yeah, just talk about Bob, what a huge boost this competition will be. It could be for Reading City. I mean, they've already come through so many rounds, getting to the, like we say, the second qualifying round for the first time, getting to the first qualifying round for the first time. What kind of boost is that for a club in Reading City's position?
It's financial, isn't it? I mean, that's the big one. And I don't care what people say. Reading City level, finance is key. It gives, once you've got that money coming in, as it's used wisely and invested in the ground and the surrounds, then it makes the whole thing better for the people that come through the door. And I think that's a really important thing to be able to do with that money. But it gives kudos to the players as well. I think, as I said earlier, the players like to say cup, and I'm sure there's quite a few players have a little notebook that says I got to this round or I got to that round in the FA Cup, FA Bars, or FA Trophy.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, winning clubs from this stage of the competition pick up £3,375 for the competition prize fund, and well, it's still 1,125 for an unsuccessful side for the losing side. So big money on offer.
I've just worked it out. The minimum that they will take from this FA Cup run is £6,000.
Huge,
which is a shirt sponsor, or that's big money. It'll be almost, if they win, it'll be we'll be looking at £8,000-9,000.
Yeah, that's a few floodlight bulbs, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We'll pay for the floodlights to come on in this cost of living crisis. So maybe.
Can I just ask Bob a question about that in his role as a chairman? Bob, FA Cup runs and runs like that, where you've got money coming in like that. At Binfield, would you, if you had £9,000 coming in, would that, how would you split that? Because inevitably the manager's going to go, well, I've just earned you £9,000. I want my budget topping up by a bit, and you're obviously going to be going, well, actually, the toilets need replacing and this and that. How do you square that?
Well, see, Binfield are blessed by having a very good finance director. Any money that came in from the FA, he immediately ring-fenced. What also helped a club like Binfield, and I'm sure other clubs do it now. We had a 3 to 5 year business plan, so we knew where the major costs were, and the FA revenue coming in certainly got over certain things that needed to be done for ground grading, for example. Ground grading, as we all know, is very unforgiving, and if you don't get it done, there are penalties which are quite severe, and that FA money really does help contribute to the outside. I mean, sure, any manager would want to see money coming in and expect to get a cut of it, and in some circumstances that will be the case. But I think you look at all the grounds that there's any ground you go to, if you look at the ground grading rules and regulations, you can see holes, and these clubs have got to do it. And money isn't easy to come by. So I know Binfield have just announced the sponsorship with Iconic. I believe there's more sponsorship coming soon, which will certainly help the surround around it. But it's that FA Cup money or FA Trophy money is really vital. It's very important.
Like we say, Reading hopefully being able to top up their funds, as will a lot of the Berkshire clubs, with a bit of luck come this weekend. Good stuff indeed. So look out for the FA Cup games, as we've gone through them, and we've mentioned the fixtures that are coming up this weekend in that competition. But if you're not going to one of the FA Cup games, there are still some other games on offer. And Tom, why don't you pick out sort of your highlight of this weekend, excluding of the FA Cup games, because obviously, 3 of them at home in Berkshire, potentially 4, they might be the highlights. But if you can't get to one of those, where would you go?
I think I would go and head to a resurgent Wokingham and Embrook at home to North Greenford United. Looks like they've snuck Zhao Jardim back in under the radar. So they've got a strike. I think they've got two decent strikers now. I think that's where I would be heading. They've done really well. I think they had a really tough start to the season, but they've kind of turned that around, and they've picked up some good results. So there, I think that's where I would be heading in terms of home games. I think Wokingham and Embrook's probably the place to be.
Absolutely. An interesting game there because Woking and Embrook only 2 points off the playoffs at the moment, and a win there might jump them above their opponents, North Greenford, who are 2 points ahead of them, and push them up towards that perhaps promotion chase. So yeah, very interesting indeed. Good pick, Tom. Bob, have you got a game you'd like to sort of highlight?
That was one I was
Sorry, mate.
Second versus first. I mean, it's going to be, I think we all like to see Wokingham and Embrook just push on that little bit more, and I think there's an expectation in the area as well that they want them to do better. They want them, but we don't want to see them failing. We want to see them having that continuity throughout the whole season.
Yeah,
I was looking at something the other day, Bob. I've done something for the Ascot program on Friday night, and it feels like we've maybe never had it so good. And in terms of like the spread of teams across every step, whereas previously you were looking at the only teams at step 4 and above were Maidenhead, Slough Town, Windsor and Eton, and Wokingham Town.
Yeah,
and but it looks like they're getting everything right off the pitch at the moment. They're doing the work off the pitch to get that ground up to scratch. And I don't know what grade it would be now. Were they to, I would imagine this season promotion's probably a little bit too soon. But they seem, and again, it's early days. They've still played 7 games. They've got 10 points from those, but. Yeah, they seem to be getting everything right, and I think you're right. I think it's good for all of us. It's good for the entire area. If one of our best supported, is it fair to say they would be the best supported Step 5 side? I know Reading City would probably argue that. That's probably not unfair, but like historically, Wokingham and Embrook will be one of the best supported sides, and they should be looking to push on.
Yeah.
Certainly had a huge crowd against Binfield in the Cup the other week. So, potential, it could be there.
Yeah.
Very good indeed. I'll very quickly highlight the Combined Counties League Division 1 because, again, we mentioned this last season, but there's another interesting promotion race unfolding there, that includes 3 of our clubs this year: Eversley in California, Berks County, and Langley. Woodley might say that they've still got games in hand and are still in the race as well, perhaps even Yateley. But I'll highlight the first 3 because they're all they're all facing teams who are also fighting for promotion. Langley are at home to Westside. Eversley in California, who are currently in 3rd, are away at 2nd place Molesey. And Berks County, who are currently in 5th, are away at 4th place Rising Ballers Kensington. All those sides have played different numbers of games, so obviously that comes into effect. It's the positioning, but some interesting ties there for the promotion shake-up in the Combined Counties Division 1. It might be slightly early to be talking about the promotion shake-up, but still some top-of-the-table clashes, shall we say.
Yeah.
Lots of interest there. Very good. And Tom, do you want to pick out a women's game for the Sunday? There's a few on offer there. Why don't you pick out one of the games there?
Okay. Yes. I'm going to take the easy option out of this one because I think Reading Women v Southampton is going to be a very, very, very good game. I think Southampton are top of the championship. I believe they certainly were the last time I checked. But Southampton are a strong side. They've been coming on strong for the last couple of seasons. I think that's going to be a real test for Reading. That's at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff. So plenty of time to get there and then perhaps get to another one afterwards. But yeah, I think that's the one for me.
Very good indeed. And I'm going to put you on the spot as well, Bob. Have you got a game for the Sunday that you'd like to get down to in any of the women's fixtures?
No, not this week.
Oh, this week. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
not this week. I'm going to have a Sunday off.
Sunday off for you. Very nice. Well, there's plenty out there, but I'm going to actually highlight one that's sort of away from home for us. There's plenty of home games, so you can always find something around this area. But as Tom's picked a Berkshire side against a Hampshire South Coast side, I'm going to pick Maidenhead United at AFC Bournemouth, who are top of the division in the FA Women's National League Division 1 Southwest. Tough assignment, probably Maidenhead's toughest game of the season, perhaps in the league. Bournemouth are expected to be right up there come the end of the season, and so yeah, tough one for them. But Maidenhead have started well and are scoring lots of goals, as we mentioned last week. So you've always got a puncher's chance when you're scoring lots of goals. So that's a one to look out for me.
It does occur to me that I wonder if Maidenhead and Woodley have thought about sharing a coach down there.
Yes,
because Woodley United have got Bournemouth Sports. I'm not sure where Bournemouth Sports is in relation to AFC Bournemouth, but a shared coach down would not be unreasonable. I would think.
Absolutely. Very sort of Berkshire against the Hampshire South Coast kind of weekend, isn't it?
Yes. Am I right in thinking there's 4? You've got Reading, Southampton, AFC Bournemouth, Maidenhead, Bournemouth Sports, Woodley, and then on the Saturday in the FA Cup you've got Bracknell, Havant.
Yes.
And you've got, is that it? That's it, I think.
Winchester. Winchester's not quite the coast,
but
it's
right, yeah. So there's 5. So let's keep an eye on those 5 for next week and see how we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Berkshire versus Hampshire. We'll see who comes out on top.
Lewis, Ascot Lewis. Ascot Lewis is definitely South Coast.
There you go. There you
6.
go. I'm not sure.
Keep an eye on those 6.
Yeah, I think it might be Sussex, but yeah, we will keep an eye on that. Right, Tom, before we go, I believe you have a bit of any other business you want to discuss.
Yes, why did I come up with this? I've got a loose idea. I've got one of those silly ideas going on in my head. If football in Berkshire had a beer, what would it be called? I always go for years when I think about these things. So FIB came into existence in 2016. I had to think about that for a second. But you could also have the Duds beer or the Dud beer. That would get people wondering if it was
Dud Suds or something like that.
Oh, Dud Suds. I like it. You had one, didn't you, Rob?
I'm not sure what I want to say out loud if Abby's listening. That was perhaps for the Twitter group. Just I don't want to wind Abby up too much without her being here to defend herself.
Yeah. It's a shame the name Broken Dreams is already taken, isn't it?
Yes, an equally shattered dream.
Yeah. How about Duds Hop?
Okay. There is an outside chance that this might come into being. So if I can plug the podcast email address, podcast@footballinberkshire.co.uk, any suggestions for that, welcome.
Very good indeed. Okay. Get in contact with us through that, of course. Is there any other business we need to discuss before we sign off for the episode?
I think only goal of the month voting is open until Sunday. That is on the website. You can see it in the green bar at the top. Just click that. There are only 3 goals, so it's easy choice. But yes, go and vote. Vote now. Vote often.
Good, and get your goals in for this month's Goal of the Month competition as well.
Yes, you can do that in the same place. If you click Goal of the Month voting at the top of the website, you can vote and you can post your goals as well. Very good indeed. Anything you want to mention before we sign off, Bob?
Same as I did last week, really, Rob. It's if you're at a loose end, anytime games are kicking off at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever, get along and support that local club. Friday night, I hope that there's a cracking crowd at Ascot.
Yes.
That I really do hope that draws a crowd, and the more people that are going to those games, the more people are talking about the games, and the more people are talking about the games, the greater interest it raises. So if you're watching this, you're not planning on going to a game, go to one.
Absolutely. Well said there, Bob. And you can see all the games that are on across the weekend on our website, www.footballinberkshire.co.uk. The fixtures and results section will give you a good idea of every game that's on across any day that you fancy getting out and going to see a game. As Bob mentioned, there's games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend, so plenty to keep you entertained, and plenty more in the midweek coming up and beyond. So yeah, get along to our website and check out the fixtures there. And you can also get in contact with us or find all of our content across all of our platforms, all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or X as it's called now, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and pretty much anywhere else you find social media content. We will be there. Just search Football in Berkshire and dig out what we are putting out. Great. That's about it from us this week. So, Tom, why don't you say goodbye to everyone?
Bye, everybody.
Bob, why don't you say goodbye to everyone?
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's goodbye from me. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.